Is Travis Hunter actually preparing to reveal the season's biggest surprise? A transfer in the middle of the season? The buzz at the moment isn't about the scoreboard, money, or tactics. It has to do with something much messier. Rumor has it that this move is unrelated to football. Contracts or plays and everything pertaining to his wife Liana. Rumor has it that a teammate of his own Jaguars may have become too close to her. And you already understand exactly what I mean when I say too close. This isn't just a casual hug or sideline. Embrace.companionship. We are discussing rumors that have the potential to destroy a marriage and divide a locker room in two. What's so crazy about this is the timing. We're not talking about end-of-year gestures or off-season trades. This would be a bombshell in the middle of the season, just when the squad needed him most. According to the streets, this has nothing to do with sports. It's intimate. It's disorganized. Additionally, this type of circumstance forces even seasoned players to maintain with their heads lowered. Travis leaving could be the least dramatic aspect of the entire tale if even half of this commotion is true. Resurfaced videos, murky locker room rumors, and a marriage that has been displaying signs of disintegration for months are all on the table. And believe me, it's not simply news when a professional athlete decides to switch teams in the middle of a season due to personal issues. Everyone is still talking about that kind of scandal long after the final whistle has blown. It's true that players frequently switch teams in search of better offers, larger contracts, or a chance to participate in the playoffs. However, the manner the issue with Travis Hunter is changing. This one feels unique. We're discussing a player who is hailed as a future mainstay for the Jaguars, the type of player whose supporters believed would keep it going for years, abruptly preparing his belongings in the midst of the season, not during a clean trade window and not at the end of the year. You already know that when anything like this occurs, the first thing that people ask is, what really went down? But just now, nobody saw it coming. We would hear the standard PR if it were only about football. Pleasant lines. It's business. I'm prepared for a fresh start. I only have my career in mind. But nothing here. No social media post, no news release, not even a mysterious People are ignoring the entire scenario because of Travis's silence, particularly considering how boisterous and ecstatic he was on the day the Jags selected him. He talked endlessly about the supporters, the city, and the future. And now there was radio silence back then. The internet detectives are working overtime because of this, sifting through TikTok breakdowns, Twitter timelines, and Reddit threads as if they were looking for hidden treasure. Everyone is attempting to put together the puzzle before the truth is revealed. Screenshots are flying, and old videos are coming back to life. And believe me, the theories are becoming more and more bizarre every minute. And the same explosive notion keeps popping up on Reddit, Twitter, and TikTok, no matter where you look. This has nothing to do with his on-field performance. It concerns his complicated personal life. In particular, the claim that it's possible that one of their own comrades went too far with Liana. We're talking about more than simply poor optics if that's accurate. We're discussing a decision that has the potential to instantly destroy friendships and alter careers. It started out as hazy clues and dodgy things such as, check the roster or look at who she's been hanging with. Then, however, fans began revealing real names. All of a sudden, this was more than just rumors. There is a rumor that a certain Jaguars player became overly at ease with Liana. Furthermore, based on what people are saying, this was not a simple miscommunication. There are times like these when you don't even need to hear the entire narrative. The room's expression says it all. However, nothing has been formally confirmed. The group was utterly quiet. Not a word. Travis and Liana is totally disconnected. Nothing, no postings, no captions, no mysterious quotations. People are just required to examine an old interview in which she asserts that she maintains a strong marriage. By resisting the influence of social media, which, let's face it, is a somewhat intriguing word choice when your name is being torn apart by the internet. However, you are aware of how the internet operates. People begin to suspect that you are concealing something when you remain silent. Additionally, in this instance, the stillness just served to fuel the flames. It was more than simply the hearsay that made the story go viral. It was because of how well it matched something that fans had already seen months prior. That old video purporting to show Liana conversing and leaning in with the Jaguar, the player has returned to a high rotation. Additionally, people are viewing it with new eyes this time. Like a crime scene video, the comments are brutal, analyzing every smile, every lean, and every moment of body language. This is the portion that Jaguars fans will find particularly offensive. This tension didn't appear overnight if the player in that clip is the identical one mentioned in the recent rumors. It has been simmering for months, which may be why the team's morale began to wane behind the scenes. There were subtle indications that you were aware of where to look. Interview, 5'10", 5
Did a little researching for a house last night, so I had a feeling.
I'm sure you have talked to everybody about playing both ways, offense and defense. What are we thinking? Is there, you're leaning towards one more than the other, or do you really want to go 100% both ways?
Nah, I'm not leaning to one or the other. You know, I'm going 100%. As much as they put on my plate, I'm going to do the best that I can to, you know, take it all in and, you know, do my job.
Awesome.
Love it,
Congratulations,
love it.
Travis.
Nah, you're clear. You're shoot him through the glass. Lean over to the left.
There have been hints of strained workouts, players not clicking as well as they once did, and even fans noticing. Travis was no longer surrounded by some of the guys who used to be having a good time with him on the sidelines. There aren't any major public outbursts or overt drama. Simply that gradual change that indicates a significant problem. You could sense it even during press briefings. That strange, cautious vibe as if everyone had to tread carefully. Yeah, there is drama, but the vibe is completely different. No one is stating outright. The group are giving it their all. Face, everything is okay. However, it's difficult to overlook the fact that Travis isn't the same when you really watch. He no longer makes jokes with the guys, no longer dapping folks up as previously. He typically stands by himself on the sidelines, helmet in hand, staring off into space as if his mind is someplace else. And how do you practice, travel, and share a locker room with someone you don't even want to look at? That all makes sense if the rumor regarding a teammate and Liana is even partially accurate. As soon as fans began to view it that way, it ceased to feel like a sports story and instead began to resemble one of those untidy, behind-the-scenes soap operas that you can't ignore. And home was certainly not the peaceful haven if the locker room was tense. At practice, things like that seldom last. It follows you. Into the stands, the dinner table, the kitchen, and even the car rides. Fans began to capture those fleeting moments at that point. A rigid embrace, a head turn, icy look. Details that speak for themselves without a single word being spoken. And now, each game day, every picture and every clip sightings are being examined as evidence. You know, that wedding video where Liana quickly turns her head and Travis leans in? If you've seen it and can still clearly recall how ungainly it appeared, then there's that photo from game day where they're sitting in the stands, conversing quietly, and with their faces pressed together, as the camera just so happens to pass by. No yelling, no dramatic moment. Just the acerbic, heated dialogue that couples have when they're clearly not on the same page. Now, arrange those instances next to it no longer seems like random coincidences after the teammate whispers. The frozen Instagram accounts and the complete lack of public involvement. It begins to resemble a pattern, not evidence, just unwavering pressure. Travis most likely hears that voice in the back of his mind during every practice snap. What are individuals saying now? Every time Liana appears in public, the comments section becomes a breakdown of her body language, zooming in on her grin, his posture, and their separation, transforming each frame into a hint. Before anyone accuses it of overanalyzing, keep in mind that many fans have already noticed these small warning signs and have chosen to remain silent, us up to this point. It doesn't shout that it's finished. However, when seen as a whole, the message is apparent. Something's definitely off. It takes time for that kind of slow-burning tension to become intense. Brick by brick, it accumulates until it is impossible to conceal. And he began varying his routine in ways that no one could ignore. Precisely as it appeared that Travis and Liana were attempting to quietly ride it out. Following all those subtle, early in their marriage, the alterations began to permeate every aspect of his existence outside the home. Once upon a time, this guy was everywhere. Charity functions, get-togethers with friends, sporadic, unexpected fan visits. He was the personable celebrity that would appear in entertaining off-season videos, having a good time laughing and having fun.
Name on you so I know it's real. Tap my fucking name on you so I know it's real.
Come with me to my husband's first open practice. There's actually been like 2 or 3, but I've been out of town for both of them because
But nothing in a while. No fan meet and greets, no informal get-togethers, and no silly videos. He seemed to have completely disappeared from the off-field spotlight, and things are different when he does appear. There was no Liana on his arm, no calm vibe, just the same focused, preoccupied expression. As if his body was in the room, but his thoughts were elsewhere completely. People take note of those things, particularly when it's a professional athlete whose life was previously well reported. Fans are beginning to question whether we're witnessing AA man withdraws not only from his spouse but also from the world he created for them. Supporters began to wonder if Travis was avoiding more than one teammate. Perhaps he was completely avoiding being recognized in particular circumstances. and that it couldn't have come at a worse time. Around the same time that he became less visible, rumors about him and Liana went viral on the internet. And rather than instead of responding to it or posting something to stop it, he remained silent, allowing the rumors to grow into a full-fledged storm. That was the turning point for several fans. He had already decided whether or not he wanted to remain on that squad in addition to the marriage. Then the next rumor surfaced, which made everything feel inevitable. People with knowledge of the matter claim that Travis and the teammate at the heart of this didn't simply avoid one another. They finally got it out. After practice, it reportedly went down out of sight of the cameras but close enough for others to feel the tension. No one's, let's be honest. They placed their name on exactly what was said. You can guess the issue without a transcript given the type of rumors that are circulating. For many fans, at which point this ceased being rumors and began to seem like the beginning of something significant. A public split? A transaction? Or perhaps both? Due to it will only be a matter of time until the fallout is made public once those private encounters begin. That was the silent, unsaid, yep, it's done moment. Because when the tension is that high, you don't share a field or a locker room with someone. This story didn't even feel like gossip when it first began to circulate in fan communities. No longer without a word being spoken, it was like confirmation. Additionally, Liana's silence was beginning to scream while Travis kept his mouth shut. Louder still, she stopped attending games, stopped commenting on the internet, and disappeared from all of the typical behind-the-scenes material. For someone who was usually in the public eye, thus, it was hard to overlook her abrupt departure. It was quickly noticed by fans, a little respite from social that's typical of the media. However, it seemed as though she was purposefully avoiding the limelight. Nothing, no pictures, no cameos, no random occurrences. She seemed to have completely shut down her public existence. On paper, they said nothing. However, the murmurs continued to flow behind the scenes, and the timing of everything made it fans may connect the dots far too easily. The question at that moment was not whether Travis would depart, but rather how he would do it. At the moment, Travis is keeping her head down, Liana isn't saying anything, and the Jaguars are trying their hardest to avoid making comments. This implies that this story will only come to light if someone ultimately chooses to leak. Furthermore, the transfer won't make the news on that day. The cause of it will. Additionally, that's the NFL may not be prepared for this aspect. Stay tuned, like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe because you won't want to miss this story's next surprising turn.